to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to be joined here by Rob. He was parched. He's getting some water. And I said, no, we are running 5 minutes late. We're starting the damn show. So here we are, starting the damn show. So, guys, we got a lot to go over here with you guys, as usual here. So we wanted to do something a little different here today. We put out a video today that people seem to like. We got a lot of good feedback on them here, so we kind of went with a little theme here. We want to give the people what they want. So we put out a video yesterday about a rumor that wasn't even started by us. It was started by the Fireside Giants guys, and I don't want to take credit for what they had reported initially here. But they talked about getting J.C. Horn from the Panthers potentially for the Giants. So we want to look at other options for the corner position there. As there's Rob there. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend himself there, back with his glass of water. I have to say it that way. I get in trouble here in Florida when I say, not in trouble like someone scolds me, but like people know where I'm from when I say water. Because we have water with a D instead of a T, water.
Yeah, water.
So anyway, guys, we're going to go over, like I said, different options that are available at that corner position there. Obviously, I expect some other options to be available for you guys to look at next week for the roster as well. And we'll go over those as they pop up too. But we're also going to go ahead and preview here a little bit the Jets and the Giants because we do have a preseason game left. I know no one cares, but I feel obligated to go over it.
We have to.
We do. I feel like an obligation is there. Like we have to somewhat at least go over and I mentioned it there. So let's go ahead and do that right now. It's the Jets and the Giants. We got the picture there of Aaron Rodgers, who's not even going to play in the game. Guys,
he's not going to go 3-and-out.
Yeah, no, that's the season. That's a different thing.
Yeah,
it's a regular season. That's a regular season plan for it. He just wants to go mushroom spelunking again. But guys, this is going to be a boring game. I'm going to give you guys fair warning on this altogether. They had a joint practice. Let's just say it didn't go the Giants' way. We'll talk about that in a minute. But when they have a joint practice, they're not going to put the starters in typically in the game. They went ahead and figured out already what they wanted to do. They already went ahead and saw situational drills and that kind of stuff to see what they needed to see. So I don't expect to see anything crazy as far as starters playing in this game or like that. I think they're going to rest them for the most part. I know Dable's kind of said, mixed on it there. He's kind of keeping us in the dark there. The one thing I would love to see is I would love to see Daniel Jones playing in the game just a little bit there. So maybe you see something a little better out of him and maybe people feel a little better going into the season. But that's more for us than Daniel Jones. He shouldn't need this. It's year 6.
You would hope so.
Yeah, I really do hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not so sure on this at this point. I'm not sure what to think of Daniel Jones at this point here. It's mostly not nice, though. I'll put it that way. But really, there's 2 things that you're going to care about here in this game overall. One is staying healthy. That's always key in a preseason game. The last thing you want is someone getting hurt in a game that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What
do you hear in preseason for?
Yeah, that's it just doesn't matter. Let's be honest. It doesn't. So the second thing,
it doesn't even matter no matter how hard you try.
You can't stop us now. Wow.
Yes.
You're going ready to rage against the machine on me. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Boo doo doo. But yeah, the other thing is that it's time to figure out some of the bottom rosters positions here, guys. And there will be players that are on the bubble that'll make or break this roster potentially based on what they do in this game. And that's something to watch out for. There's some battles there at some very crowded positions. Ironically enough, the corner position we're to talk about today, there's a ton of corners we got. We're just not too happy with the ones we got, but there's a ton of corners on this roster. Like, they're not all going to make it. There's a ton of wide receivers in this roster. We already cut Dennis Houston here earlier this week, but, they're not all going to make it. There's a lot of potential here for guys to make or break their potential season based on how they perform in this game, which is a little crazy to put that kind of emphasis on a preseason game, but it's the truth. It's what it is. So, we'll have to keep an eye out. Rob and I obviously will go ahead and give you guys a heads up on what goes on in the game. Now, fair warning, guys. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit that share button, because we usually come on Monday, and that's when we were initially talking about doing it. But this is going to be kind of a crazy week because you got the preseason game going on. You got the 53-man roster being finalized later on in the week. There's a lot of things going on right at the early part of this week. So we might be changing things up just a little bit.
Just a smidge.
Just a little bit. So keep an eye out there. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell on YouTube. That's the best way to find out when we're going live there, so that we guys don't miss a beat there. So let's get into the topic that people are all up in arms about there, and that's the corners. And it all boils down to what happened with the practices here with the Jets and the Giants, because our corners got smoked, guys. Let's be very honest about what happened. Our corners got smoked. Now, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it and say, well, if that's bad, we need to look at corners. And that's how most people are looking, including the Giants brass, if you listen to what they're talking about. You can also look at it and say, okay, you got one of the best quarterbacks in football, potentially, depending on how healthy he is, in Aaron Rodgers. And you got Garrett Wilson, who, to me, is an underrated wide receiver in this league. I still think that. You don't think that?
Underrated?
Underrated, yes. The guy breaks 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a fantasy player, everyone is all over that guy, so I wouldn't say he's underrated. He's not talked about because Zach Wilson, but he's definitely a go-to guy.
Listen, if you do 1,100 yards with Zach Wilson, you are easily able to do 1,500 with a good quarterback.
Maybe more.
And that's why I'm saying underrated, because you don't hear of him talked about as one of the best receivers in this league. And I honestly think
he was talked about that. He had the big umph coming out of his rookie year, but then last year, he got deflated after Rodgers went down.
Yeah, well, which was pretty much immediately. So
yeah,
I don't see the hype there anymore. You just say fantasy. I'm talking real football. In real football talk, I don't see the hype there was.
Well, most fantasy football players are real football fans.
No, I'm saying real football, not fantasy football, though. I understand most fantasy football people are actual football fans, but
I'm just saying there's other things going around the Jets media that was different prompts they were having that they didn't talk about this guy, because they're talking more about who's playing at quarterback this week, what's going on with Zach Wilson, and not like, oh my God, look at Garrett Wilson
getting sidetracked here anyway.
Sorry.
What I was saying is that you can look at it from the perspective of you have one of the best receivers in the league on the team, and you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league in this team. And you can kind of go, okay, well, it also was a very tough task. They just didn't meet the task. And that's possible as well. We got a very young corner room. But I do think the Giants are looking to add a CB2. I think they have faith in Banks to be one of the corners. But I do think they're looking to add a CB2 after what happened. The worst part is Sauce Gardner talking trash and everything, like as you're leaving the field and all that kind of stuff. Like Sauce getting saucy with us there. Like not cool, guys. That's not cool. Listen, I don't like the fact the Jets are talking trash about us, because as far as I'm concerned, we're still up 4-1.
Pretty much.
That's what matters, guys, is championships. You're the Jets. You're the Jets. I haven't seen the Jets ever get to a Super Bowl in my lifetime. And I'm old.
You are old.
I am. It's been forever since the Jets have gone to a Super Bowl.
50 years?
I mean, it's been more than that, isn't it now?
Or probably
it was Super Bowl 3. That's so far back. We're going to single digits here, guys. Single freaking digits. Like, that's how long it's been. So, you know what? Let them talk trash, I guess, because that might be the biggest win they have all year.
They got something. Let them have something.
Yeah. When Aaron Rodgers collapses his knee or something again because he's just has a bad offensive line in front of him. He's getting up there in age now. Like, stuff's gonna happen, guys. So, but I don't want to try to hate the Jets though. Even as a Giant fan, I don't try to hate the Jets. It's like your little brother. It's almost like the Commanders of the AFC. Like, I don't hate them as much as you would think I could. Yeah,
it's fair to say because it's not they're not a good organization.
No, it's not. It's not. And we all have Jets fans we feel bad for. We all have a Jet fan in our life. Maybe everybody should get them something for Christmas that's blue. Maybe a little bit of red thrown in. Perhaps sprinkle a little bit of white.
Jim, I'm looking at you.
All right, guys. Let's get into those corners that we can possibly look at here. So what we did was we devised a group of corners here, and we got 9 corners in total to talk about. And these are ones that are pretty much considered the top ones that are still out there, guys. And there's no perfect answer. Let me be very clear on that. There are no perfect answers left. Stephon Gilmore was like the last one that nobody wanted for some reason here. And I, honestly, for what he got from the Vikings, I don't know why they didn't just sign him. It's 1 year, $10 million, I think it was.
I think it was like that, which is pretty cheap for this day and age.
That's pretty cheap for a 1 year rental and a stopgap, which is most of what you're looking at with these guys. They're stopgaps. These are not permanent answers. These are not guys who are sitting around waiting for the right opportunity and they're still young in their prime. These are guys that their prime was long ago. So let's get into the first one here. Xavien Howard, probably the biggest name left here in this group, and a guy that is an interesting tale right now, that's for sure. Those who may have little ones in the room may not want to be here for this segment. I'm just going to give you guys a fair
We'll give you a little bit of delay. Here's
adult topics will be coming up once we're done with talking about his actual on the field stuff going on. So tail of the tape on him, 31 years old, 6'1", 203 pounds. Last year with the Dolphins, 13 games, 45 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 interception, 10 passes deflected, and a 55.1 PFF grade. 8-year veteran overall, all with Miami, 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, finished 3rd in the voting for Defensive Player of the Year back in 2020. Nice little resume there. Not so great last year, but a nice career resume overall. There's a lot of players that would give their left knee at that point to go ahead and get, that kind of resume in the NFL. But he's clearly on the decline. And that's where the on-the-field issues goes. So the big thing is, does he have enough left in the tank to even be a decent stopgap? I mean, a 55.1 PFF grade. Again, I know PFF's not everything, but it's a nice, simple stat to show kind of overall what you did. And that's not great, guys. That's not great. Now, you could look at a guy like that and go, why is a guy with this kind of resume available? Even if he's on a downturn, you think somebody would want him for a 1-year deal or something? Well, let's get into it.
Hide your wives, hide your kids.
This is hide the wives. The wives can listen. The wives can listen. Yeah. Kind of masochist. So let's get into what's going on here. So he's being sued right now. And apparently, according to the lawsuit, we'll be very careful in the wording. According to the lawsuit, Howard has a
alleged case of
video recording people having sex. He likes to record himself having sex with women, apparently, and then he sends those videos out, again, according to this court case, to those women. There was a woman that's suing him, saying he would send out multiple videos of him with various women. And it was, in her eyes, a controlling tactic there. He's also being sued because he sent out a video. This is photograph, actually, this one. It's just listed as a sexually explicit photo of a mother to her teenage son. Again, according to the lawsuit, he did that because the woman would refuse to have an abortion. So, yeah. This is why I think teams are probably not going near him.
Yeah.
Listen. I don't want to pretend like I'm a lawyer. I don't want to pretend like I have a law degree or I know a ton on the legal system here beyond what most people do. But I think it's pretty common sense that if you're going to sue somebody for having videos and sending videos and having unauthorized videos, you better have the videos themselves to prove it.
Yeah, and
assuming the videos are there and that this person who is suing has them, it's probably going to be a pretty slam dunk case. Now you throw in the fact to get a 17-year-old who's now 18 at the time, so he can have sue as an adult on his own, actually, if he wants, I believe. But he was 17 at the time, so he at that point, a teenager. I guess 18 is still a teenager, but technically you're a legal adult at that point. But a 17-year-old teenager, sexually explicit photos of the mother. Again, now you're sending sexually explicit photos to a minor.
Yeah.
You now take out the whole aspect of why he did it and the fact that why would you ever send sexually explicit photos of a mother to her son? That's crossing many lines. Many lines.
Many
But
lines.
you sent pornography, I don't know if you want to call it, I guess.
You would call it pornography. I feel like if you're going to be in a legal court, you will call it pornography videos.
I'm trying to think, I don't know what the legal term would be, but yeah, you're literally sending pornography to a minor.
Yeah.
That's going to get you in trouble.
And there's also a case, I think it went into effect like 15, 20 years ago when the internet got really famous. It was, there's a law where you can't upload the private videos or, whatever videos that you took with your significant other and post it up there. It's girlfriend revenge law.
I've only heard of the two people suing so far, the family of the boy who was a teenager at the time and one woman. And the one woman said that she had no clue she was being recorded.
Yeah.
And that adds another whole other layer onto this as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a reason he's not being picked up in the NFL, guys. That's your reason. Yeah, that's your reason right there. Because when you have a guy who is a 4-time Pro Bowler and he's still available, again, he's not as good as he was when he was a Pro Bowler. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say he's elite right now. He's not. But he's still at least a serviceable corner in this league. And he's still available. That's why. They all know. If you don't think the NFL is doing research on this topic, like you would not believe if they were interested in hiring him. They know the ins and outs better than me and Rob, better than any of y'all listening at this point or watching. They're not touching this topic here. They're going, you know what? This is not going to end well. And best case scenario, let me put it this way. Best case scenario for Howard. He goes to the court case. He wins. He gets no jail time. He's innocent, whatever. I'm not going to say it's not a possibility. I don't know the guy. I don't know the ins and outs of every single aspect of this case. I'm not going to be the guy to convict somebody when he's still technically innocent. That's what we do in this country. It's you're innocent until proven guilty. Best case scenario, that's the horrible, horrible press all season long for whatever team signs him.
Oh, 100%. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be a role model for kids, and you just sign on with this organization. How do you guys feel?
Yeah. Now, you might take the risk on a star. He's not a star anymore. That's what
this is 5 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Different story.
Owners don't want bad press. Whether or not it's right or wrong, whether you agree with the topic or whatever the case may be, like it goes in the category of like Tim Tebow and Colin Kaepernick. You're a distraction as far as the ownership is concerned. They don't want a part of you. That's what this is a case of. So I think it's a clear-cut case of Howard is probably going to be a free agent as long as this case is looming over him. And to be very frank, it might be the end of his career.
Unless the Raiders are feeling froggy. Because that's...
Well, they might. They might, because we do have a Raider, an ex-Raider at least, to talk about next.
Yeah.
Good way of transitioning, and you probably didn't realize we were doing it that way. Marcus Peters, who is a guy that we banged the drum for last year for the Giants to sign. And guess what, guys? Boom, 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 boom.
Dun, dun, dun.
Banging that drum again, guys, because if there's a guy that makes sense for us to go ahead and try to sign, it's Marcus Peters. Now, I'm not saying Marcus Peters is the Marcus Peters of old. He is the Marcus Peters now that is old. That's what he is. 31 years old, 6'1", 197 pounds. Last year with the Raiders, 12 games, 43 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 interception, 5 passes deflected. And by the way, he returned the interception for a touchdown. 68.8 PFF grade. Guys, that's very respectable. In fact, he ran it out. I think it was, I don't have the number in front of me. I didn't write this down, but when I was looking, I think it was like 48th out of like 120 on PFF grades. So he's ranking as a legit number 2 corner. Guess what, guys? Guess what we need? A legit number 2 corner. If this doesn't sound like a perfect fit, I don't know what is. And he's not going to be crazy expensive. I can't imagine that I'm doing wrong. He's not going to work for free. I'm not suggesting that, but, nor should he. But he's not going to be a guy that's going to get all kinds of crazy money at that point there. So, if you sign a guy cheap enough, to me, it's worthwhile to take the shot. I mean, the Raiders paid him $3.2 million, guys, last year, which is pretty much exactly what we just cleared with the Andrew Thomas. I was looking it up already. That's exactly how much we just cleared with the Andrew Thomas restructure. This, to me, is the slam dunk. And Marcus Peters was elite back in the day. He's not anymore, but he was elite back in the day. And with that comes the potential to be a real teacher in that corner room as well, in a very, very young corner room. So he was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, and Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2015. Like I said, though, the big thing for me is, of the people we're going to talk about, this guy has the potential to be the best in this entire group next year. Now, I will say there's been issues with him. At least there's been rumors of issues with him personality-wise of the teams. I have heard that in the past. Not that I've had the chance to talk to anybody who specifically has worked with him. There's always just been rumblings of him. But I don't think that's really an issue on this team because we don't have really any crazy personalities that are issues. And if you got to take one on, if he is even, because again, it's just the rumor you always hear with him. If he is, it's not like he's that bad because he wouldn't be having a job at 31 years old when he starts going down from where he was. Those kind of guys get kind of pushed out over time. So, I don't think I worry about that part as much. But in the back of your mind, you got to know it's there and really sit down, talk to him, and just get a feel for who he is as a person and who he is as a player there. Because you just never know what you're getting in a guy you just don't know. So, yeah, I guess I don't see a downside.
No.
So, yeah. To me, slam dunk.
100% though. Like you said, you pay this guy 3.5 or 3.2 is what he's got paid last year. So legit number 2, like that's cost effectiveness right there.
Yeah, 100%. So, and he's a stopgap guy. He's a stopgap guy you can go ahead and put on your roster, let him play the year out, and then next year come up with a younger option for CB2. It's not a bad thing to have him like that for that year. So I'm all for it. Next up, we got to talk about a former Giant. We got a couple actually former Giants in this group, which is weird enough because I actually skipped when I looked up a list of available corners. There was guys like Jalen Mills and people like that. And I'm like, I'm going to skip these guys. We just weird to cut them. But next up is a guy we had on the roster the last couple of years, and that's Adoree Jackson. And I keep hearing Giants fans talk about Adoree Jackson over and over again. Like, why don't the Giants just pick up Adoree Jackson? Why don't the Giants just pick up Adoree Jackson? There's a reason why. There's definitely a reason why. We'll get into that in a minute. Let's go into the review real quick on Adoree. So, very young for at least compared to the rest of the people in this group. Not very young overall for corner, but he's 28 years old, 5'11", 185 pounds. Last year with the Giants, 14 games, 63 tackles, 1 interception, which returned for a touchdown, 8 passes deflected, and 48.6 PFF grade, which is very low. Now, we haven't said this in a while, so I'm going to repeat something I've said multiple times in the past. We've looked at guys in the secondary. Tackles is a very, very misleading stat when it comes to corners. Because in most positions, when you have a ton of tackles, that means you're getting to the ball, you're making big plays, blah, 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 stuff you want to hear. When you're a corner and you have too many tackles, that means people are catching the ball around you, which is your main goal.
You're not doing the job.
Yeah. So 63 tackles, guys, in 14 games. Not even a full season, in 14 games. Like that's a lot of tackles to be given up, guys. That is a lot of tackles. So let's do the math here. That'd be 77 tackles in the season, which is obscene amount of tackles, guys.
Yeah.
And this is not a guy who played against the run well. Like, you could even throw that in there. Like, okay, maybe there's a corner who really likes to run up to the line and, stop the run and stuff like that. And he gets a couple of tackles each game because of that. And that's what brings his stats up. No, Adoree Jackson avoided the run.
Like the plague.
Yes, absolutely avoided it. Like, oh God, the running back's coming to me. No.
Yeah.
Like, that was one of the issues the Giants had with them. Adoree Jackson it was noticeable last year that he was kind of dogging a little bit. He was not putting his all out there. He was taking, I don't want to say full on taking plays off, but he was avoiding the big hits in the run game. He really wasn't giving it at all, it looked like.
So he was having flashbacks from that kick return.
Yeah, and that's not coming from me, guys. That's coming from Giants beat reporters who have inside information, obviously. This is coming from, multiple sources that Adoree Jackson is persona non grata in the Giants locker room and in the Giants front office there because of these issues, because he went out for himself at that point as opposed to the team. When the rest of the team hadn't given up and didn't stop fighting, he stopped. I don't know why you'd want a guy like that in your on your team. Not to mention the fact
fight, get out.
That he was in serious decline last year. I really thought he did not look nearly as good as the prior years. Now, his best year was his very first year with us. Guess what, though, guys? He was a CB2. Coincidence that he looked the best when he was a CB2? I don't think so. Bradbury was the number one in that first year.
Yeah, it's true.
So, yeah, that's why he looked so good. He was playing lesser talent. Then he was serviceable last year. 2 years ago. Didn't look great, but he was serviceable, in 22. And then in 23, like I said, he just that production just dropped, guys. And you got to wonder if some of it is his injuries. Every single year he got injured, whether with us, whether with Tennessee originally. Every single year Adoree Jackson got injured. And it was always like a couple of games. It was never like the I'm out for the year kind of move. But every year was a couple of games he'd be out for. And you wonder if at one point these injuries have kind of taken their toll on his body and he's just not as quick as he used to be. Because that was Adoree Jackson's big thing, was his speed. He's extremely fast, not very physical. So fast corners depend on their speed. The second they start losing their speed, yeah, it's not good. That's kind of game over for their career a lot of times. And I think that's what's exactly going on with Adoree Jackson. And I think everybody saw it. Everybody saw that he's in decline, like a fast decline. Everybody saw that he was dogging it, not playing the run game and that kind of stuff. And listen,
and
they don't want that.
And there's some animosity towards the end of the year, like that wasn't talked about, but
yeah. So like I said, to me, that reunion is not happening. I know people keep talking about it, and some people are, listen, we're not that desperate. That's bad. It sounds bad. It's like a bad breakup. We're not that desperate to go back to you. That's where we're at with the Adoree Jackson, guys. I really don't think he's that good anymore. I think people are kind of remembering him how he was the first 2 years as a Giant and forgetting how bad he was last year. Keep in mind, Trey Hawkins was taking his starting job with him.
Yeah, let's not forget that.
Yeah. I know Trey Hawkins was talked up as this great corner in camp and everything, but we all know Trey Hawkins was not that great. And he was beating him in camp at points. So, yeah. Not looking for that meetup again there. So, all right, guys, before we get to the next one, we're not going to forget to pay the bills this time. We're not going to. And we're not going to forget to tell about the contest, because we're going to tell you about the contest right now.
Enter to win a Daniel Jones signed jersey. Simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@2giantgoofballs, and email a screenshot to 2giantgoofballs@mail.com to enter. Only one submission allowed per subscriber. Monthly subscribers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs will get an additional 2 entries. Contest ends when the channel reaches 1,000 subscribers. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. This contest is not affiliated with the NFL, New York Giants, Daniel Jones, or any other person or company besides the 2 Giant Goofball podcast. Good luck to everyone.
All righty, guys. Let's get into our next one here. So, next up, we got something we've talked about this offseason a couple times already. Patrick Peterson, who at one point one of the best, if not the best, corner in the entire league. That's how good he was. So, but that's been a while now because he old. He's almost as old as Rob.
Ooh,
almost 34 years old, 6'1", 203 pounds. Last year played with the Steelers, 17 games, 42 tackles, 2 interceptions, 11 passes deflected, and a 60.5 PFF grade. He's a 13-year vet now, guys. Best known, obviously, for his days in Arizona when he was an elite corner. 8-time Pro Bowler, selected a little each of his first 8 years in the NFL. Like, that's a really good stretch to start your career off, guys. 8 times in a row. 3-time first-team All-Pro. Also a member of the NFL 2010's All-Decade Team. That just sounds weird, right? We're talking about 2010 like it was so long ago.
It really was.
Wasn't that yesterday?
Wasn't Lady Gaga just coming around?
Like, oh my God. You know, the crazy thing is, I know we talk about Taylor Swift a lot on this because we like to joke around about her and Travis Kelce last year. But yeah, wasn't she just coming around too? Like, isn't she like a newer artist? No, she's like a pushing 40 at this point.
Well, yeah, she also famous when she was 16.
I know that, but I'm just saying, like, she's in her mid 30s now, and she feels like she just 35. Came out. I'm just saying, like, we're old now. We're old.
Yeah.
But yeah, Patrick Peterson. Again, the big thing with him is how much left in that tank. He was losing playing time in Pittsburgh. Huh?
So my big thing is the shit talk that he did last year about DJ.
Oh, that was this year. That's what we got to talk about as well. But
yeah.
He talked very badly about Daniel Jones this offseason when he was interviewed for, I believe it was a podcast he was interviewed for, talking about he's not that special and blah, 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 after DJ toasted him twice with the Vikings in 22. Again, not that DJ's that great. That's more of a knock on Peterson for being toasted 2 years ago by Daniel Jones.
So just so those fans out there are like, oh, this is a good pickup, and you guys don't like DJ, guess who toasted him?
Yeah. Like, when Daniel Jones toasted you, like that, and I'm not talking about the low setting where it's got a little bit of crispiness. I'm talking like that sucker, you're like using a knife to scrape off the burnt bits. That's how bad toasted this thing is.
Yeah, we had the stats, but
yeah,
not too long ago.
Yeah, like,
I'm gonna go back there and talk about
it. Not good. In fact, there was an old episode we did a segment about that. Just search 2 Giant Goofballs Patrick Peterson. It'll probably come right up. Yeah. Give you the exact words he used there. But like I said, I find that hard that Giants brass would be interested in bringing him in, considering those comments, because we all know that the Giants organization thinks very highly of Daniel Jones, not necessarily as a player, but as a person, and that does matter to this team. You know, you can argue all day long, and all Giants fans have, about how good of a quarterback he is or isn't. But you can't argue that he's a decent guy. That's pretty well known at this point, that he's a decent guy. He's a stand-up guy. He doesn't cause issues. He leads a team. He does everything you want a starting quarterback to do off the field. It's the on the field.
Except
play well. Does everything you want except play well. But I mean, Patrick Peterson did that. I feel like he closed that door the second he did it. But like I said, the big thing also is that he was losing his playing time in Pittsburgh. He wasn't like doing great in Pittsburgh last year, guys. They even moved him to safety towards the end of the year. Yeah, there's a reason this guy's available. I think his career is done, to be honest.
It wasn't like Pittsburgh was that good either.
Yeah, Pittsburgh does not have a good secondary. Let's be very clear on that. Pittsburgh just does not. So, yeah, that's a done situation there, where I think it's just time for him to hang up his helmet, enjoy the great career he had, give it a couple of years, he'll be in Canton because he will be a Hall of Famer, deservedly so. Yeah. And, move on like that. I mean, he's still, I think, a very good story overall. Again, we had Britton Golden, former Giants wide receiver and former Cardinal, much longer with the Cardinals, and he had nothing but glowing things to say about Peterson. So, amazing things to say about him, in fact. So the fact that we had somebody who got to play with him, played alongside him, went out of his way to speak very highly about him, says a lot about who Patrick Peterson is. So I don't wish anything bad about him. If he wants to play, then still, go for it. Still play. You get to make that decision. Just don't be Willie Mays, falling down in Shea Stadium.
They're wrong.
I'm not. I mean, listen, that's way before my time. But if you listen to people of our parents' generation, they'll tell you that Willie Mays was the guy who was like the quintessential example of a guy who just, held
didn't know how
on.
Didn't know how to hang up his jockstrap.
No, and he loved playing, and you can't hate that a guy loved playing at that point, but he wasn't the same player towards the end, and it was sad to see because he was in his early 40s when he finally retired. By the way, he was 42 when he stopped playing. Willie Mays was. So, his batting average in 1973, his last year, 211. Not good.
No.
And he was an all-star, by the way. Probably more for the fact he was Willie Mays, but great player, same as Patrick Peterson. And sometimes great players have trouble giving it up when it's time. I think with Patrick Peterson, it's just time. It's just the speed started to have an issue at that point, unless he's fully willing to commit to safety. But we don't need safeties; we need corners. So it doesn't fit the bill. It doesn't fit the bill. So next up, J.C. Jackson. And this is another guy who was a big name a few years ago. Sad. This is like the has-beens. Like if this list was 5 years ago, this is supposed to be amazing.
Yeah, but we're also looking at a week and a half before regular season.
I know, but it's just hilarious. Like 5 years ago, this is like, oh my God, J.C. Jackson, Patrick Peterson, Marcus Peters.
Sign him now.
My God, we got the best corners in football on one team. J.C. Jackson are the ones a little younger though. 28 years old, 6'1", 198 pounds.
He's not in the NFL, so I'm 28.
The latest. He's at the flag football team. Played 2023 with the Chargers and the Patriots there. Split some time, 10 games, 28 tackles, 1 interception, 9 passes deflected, a 34.8 PFF grade, guys. That stat alone makes me say, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. He was a Pro Bowler and a second-team All-Pro in 21, so he has had some success in this league. But he injured his patellar tendon back in 22 and just hasn't been the same since. I mean, he could provide some veteran leadership maybe, but I think it's pretty obvious the injury took away any elite ability he had and possibly even any starting ability he had. We have enough people that are backups that aren't necessarily that great. So I don't have any interest in J.C. Jackson at all. How about you, Rob?
No, not at all. I mean, granted, we have a very young corner room, and at least to bring in some like veteran leadership, if you will. But how much are these young guys that like Banks is a homo guy, but like you got other guys like they're young. Like, are they really going to listen to the washed up old guy?
The washed up old guy who's 28.
I wish I was 28. Oh God.
It's 14 years ago for me. I'm almost old enough to be his dad. Yeah,
I guess you could be.
Well, at 14, I guess I could be, but be very young.
Yeah. You like the Adam Sandler movie?
Oh my God, Adam Sandler. What's that with him and the guy from SNL?
Yeah, Andy Samberg.
Yeah, what's that? What was the name of the movie? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I've seen parts of it.
It wasn't that good anyway, so we're good. That was the downfall of Sandler. It was just he was just waiting for, wasn't with him and being the twin sister as well. Like, oh my God.
Oh, Jack and Jill. That was awful.
Jill.
That was the epitome of his downfall.
The best part of that movie was Al Pacino doing the Dunkachino commercial.
Oh. I was going to say that when the credits rolled.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. All right, next up, we got Akello Witherspoon, who I think this is probably the first of the non-household names really that's coming up there. The rest of these guys have been like household names in the NFL for a little while. Witherspoon never quite had that kind of reputation there, but he's still youngish at 29, 6'2", which is actually really tall for a corner, 195 pounds. Last year played with the Rams, had 52 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 14 passes deflected, and a 64.3 PFF grade. 7-year veteran who's played mostly with the 49ers. And this is a really interesting option, guys. Like, this is probably my second favorite option past Marcus Peters, because this guy's never been elite, but he's also pretty much played mostly above average to average his entire career. We're not looking for an elite corner, guys. Like, we already have Deonte Banks, who's supposed to be our elite corner. I don't think he is, but he's supposed to be. We're hoping he develops into one. Right. But you're not going to get somebody elite a week and a half before the season starts.
Yeah,
not going to happen. So yeah, interesting option there. He'd be somebody that if they think he fits the defense, not a bad fit, guys. Not a bad fit at all. So yeah, Witherspoon's a guy to keep an eye on. That's because we keep talking about picking somebody up on the waiver wire. There's no guarantee that somebody ends up at the waiver wire that's not better. That's already going to be better than one of these guys here. Teams don't tend to drop good players. Like, they're not like, we have too many good corners. Let's drop this one.
Yeah.
Somebody else should need him. Yeah. Like, we're going to get back end kind of guys at that point, or guys that just, money cutting costs and stuff like that. They brought in the Fabian Moreau guy, as a reference when Brandon Brown talked. This is a guy here in Witherspoon that fits that kind of mold. A guy who's had a little bit of a career, got starting experience, plays okay, doesn't play amazing. This is a guy that I think they would be potentially interested in bringing in. I'm kind of shocked they haven't yet, to be honest, because I'm looking for a negative on him, and I don't see it. I just don't.
Yeah.
So
no, this is definitely, like you said, this is definitely an interesting pick. And you want to talk about veterans that hasn't had an issue, hasn't had like too many injuries, hasn't had anything that serious going on. It's just flew on the radar. That's what the Giants like. They don't want those nonsense players. And I mean, granted, if he had an ACL injury, he'd probably pick him up.
He'd be definitely our guy then. Yeah. That's the guy.
Oh, your ACL? You blew 2 of them? You're hired. They don't fly back. You're good.
All right, let's pay those bills real quick, and we got 3 more corners to go over with you guys.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. We got 3 more here for you. Let's go into it here. So next up, we got another guy who's a former Giant. In fact, 2 of the next 3 guys we're going to go over with you guys are former Giants.
2 to 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, it could be in this list.
I was about to say, unless you're looking at this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's Keon Crossan, who was a Giant not too long ago, in fact, actually, back in 21. So it's an interesting tale with him because there's a little bit of a mystery wrapped up in an enigma, smothered in secret sauce with this guy here.
Ooh.
So he's 30 years old now, 5'10", 195 pounds. He did not play at all last year. He suffered what they just called a freak injury that cost him the season. They didn't tell you what kind of injury it was, what caused the injury. No, nothing. All we know is it was a leg injury. Then the Dolphins went ahead and cut him at the beginning of this offseason with a failure to, pass the physical. So we don't even know if he can pass the physical now. We don't know anything going on. For all we know, he'll never play football again. It was that bad of an injury. We don't know. We just don't. For all we know, he was just close to passing the physical, and they cut him while they could. We don't know. Only Keon knows, and the Dolphins, I guess. So in 22 with the Dolphins, 16 games, 2 starts, 32 tackles, 4 passes deflected. And he did what he usually does. He's a decent backup kind of guy that's going to play you some special teams. But we need a starter, guys. I don't think he fits the bills. He doesn't fit the bill we're looking for at all.
Let's say that's in Buffalo.
Like, if we're going to get a guy who's a backup and a special teamer, which, listen, we could always use, improving the backup or special team area there. I'm not getting a guy coming off of a freak injury with his leg that I have no clue what kind of condition he's in. Like, that's not the guy. I'm like, that's the guy for me. Like, that's not. Nope. I'm good. This is a hard pass for me. This one.
Yeah. He take his exploded cup and get out of here.
There we go. Let's go from the hard pass to the basket case. And that's Eli Apple. Oh, yes, that name probably sounds very familiar to all you Giant fans there. Eli Apple, of course, the former top 10 draft pick by the New York Giants there. Can't believe he's still in the league. If you told me this guy would be in this league for that long, oh, my God. If he gets signed, this will be year 10 for him, guys.
Hey, his mom treated him well.
Yeah. Only him. 29 years old, 6'1", 203 pounds. Last year, played with the Miami Dolphins. 10 games, 4 starts, 46 tackles, 1 interception, 8 passes deflected. So he's now been, along with a Giant, he's been a Saint, a Bengal, and a Dolphin. He's been through a few different times there. 9-year veteran, like I said, overall. And he's basically, his time with the Giants was basically marred and known for his maturity issues there overall. So the big questions really come into, has he grown up? It's been a while. To assume
so. Yeah.
I would love to think so. I mean, you have nowhere to go but up, that's for damn sure. I
mean, he's drafted, 20 years old?
No, you figured 9 years ago? Yeah, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Very, very young. And his mom was a big part of everything going on. I mean, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was
Mrs. Apple.
Yes. At first, she was like somebody that people thought was funny. She just was a caring mother, blah, blah, blah. And then she went into pain in the butt mode really quickly. Annie Apple, I had to look her up. Annie Apple is her name. But yeah, it's there's been issues. There's been issues.
Yeah. Mama said I could play cool in the NFL.
Yeah, there's all kinds of issues there. It's almost like you all had that friend probably at one point that he had to tell his mom that the cord was cut. She's not necessarily a tag along anymore. That's exactly what that situation was. Like, that's where we're at. So the cord was not cut though, and there were just issues left and right. You really had to the point where players were talking trash about him. And I don't mean other teams' players. I mean the Giants. Other Giants were talking trash about him point blank. So, Landon Collins literally called him a cancer back in 2017. That's bad.
Yeah.
He was suspended by the Giants for, quote, a pattern of behavior that was detrimental to the conduct of the team. That's not good.
No.
In 22, he tweeted, I don't know which fan base I hate more. Probably the Saints, but it's close with the Giants. It's a toss-up.
So you're telling me he's going to be a good fit to come back here?
Yeah. Hard pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass. Because let's be very frank first off that for his career, he's been a low-end starter for most of his career. That's what he's been. Like the guy who you signed because somebody else got injured or your first couple of plans didn't work out. He's like plan C, plan D.
Yeah. So the doctor says, have an apple a day keeps, the doctor away, but get this guy out of here.
Yeah, we're good. We don't need anything to do with him whatsoever. I'm not even so sure he's any better than Nick Baclatt or Cordell Flott, to be honest with you guys. I'm really not.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold.
I'm good. We got one more here for you guys. Not a former Giant, so that's always good. Chandler Sullivan here. Chandler's 28 years old, 5'11", 189 pounds. Last year, 17 games, 2 starts, 22 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 interception, 6 passes deflected, and a 61.2 PFF grade. He's a 6-year veteran overall, 88 games played, 33 starts. And he mostly plays in the slot, and that's where the issue I have with him is a fit for us. Now, we have had a lot of issues in the slot the last couple of years as well. So I'm not opposed to bringing him in if the Giants look him up and think he's better than what we got there in backup positions there. But he's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a starting outside corner, guys. That's not who Sullivan is. But he's a guy who could be a decent depth piece if we get an injury or two, or if we think he's better than some of the guys. I mean, let's be honest, we've been signing nobodies at corner the last couple of weeks. Like a whole bunch of nobodies. Why not sign somebody who could actually play the position, has for 6 years, instead of some undrafted rookie free agents on his 6th team in 2 years? Like, that's what I feel like the guys we've been signing are. So
pretty much, they're like they got made the lightning strike a few times. They're like, oh, look what we did to Zay Hodgins. It's like, yeah.
As long as they don't go like full on, like doing the JPP at tight end things and suggest that this guy's the Elijah Chapman of corners. Like, yeah, that'd be such a giant move. They're so proud of themselves for the one.
Pretty much what the Giants have done.
Yeah, like we made a positive. Let's just continue trying to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm good. I think I'm going to move on from that one entirely, and I think we're going to move on from these corners as a whole. So, there's really not a lot that I liked in this corner group, guys. Really not a lot. There's a couple guys, and that's it. So we'll be back again for you guys, like I said, next week. Talk more about the New York Giants. Talk about the Jets game. Talk about the 53-man roster next week. Sorry, as all that stuff is now starting to come to an end for the preseason, and the regular season's going to be starting soon. So if you haven't already, guys, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're literally in the midst, guys, of our biggest day ever for adding subscribers, I think, to this channel. I have to see the numbers when they get finalized here at the end of the day, but I think that's where we're at there. So we literally need here just 11 more subscribers on YouTube to monetize. So if you guys, even if you're listening afterwards on audio podcast, and that's how you choose to listen, feel free to pop on YouTube real quick and help us out and hit that subscribe button there, guys.
Yeah,
because
much appreciated.
Yes, because being monetized would be nice. I'm just saying. we like it. Just the word money in general being involved is a nice thing for us. So appreciate you guys in advance who do take the time to do that there. We'll be back again for you guys. Like I said, keep an eye out. We're talking about even coming on Sunday, even for you guys to go over potentially the last preseason game against the Saints there. So
and that subscribe really helps that.
Exactly, because then your phone tells you when we're on. I mean, my phone goes off with like all of the different venues in one shot there for us there. So
yeah, it also helps like who has a christening or first birthday party on a Sunday? I don't know, monsters. You can't watch the game, but guess what? You get a notification when the game's over, pop on, you can find out what happens real fast.
Well, yeah. Well, the next day for us, we'll be on Saturdays for sure.
Oh no, I was talking about on Sundays.
Yeah. So, Sundays in general. Yeah, we'll be on always right after the games during the season there at that point. So, yeah, if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share. We're always live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and of course Rob's favorite,
Oh, God.
And I asked you guys last episode if you want to see us again on Twitter to pop in the comments. I really got only one person that said anything about it, and they said they don't want to care if we're on Twitter or not. So we'll see if we go back on there, since Elon Musk wants our blood money at that point to go ahead and go back on there. So we'll see what happens there overall on that there. But of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms as well. So, we're on, of course, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there. So if you haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe on there. Feel free to give a 5-star and a review as well, because that really definitely helps push the content out to everybody there, guys. So appreciate you guys listening in as always. And as always, Giant fans,
go G-Man!
Go G-Man! G-Man.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.